We have seen the trailer for the brand new Moon Knight Disney Plus series. It aired last night and people have a lot of questions. One of the biggest questions running around today on the internet, and this is actually an age-old question, is Moon Knight versus Batman. What's the deal? What's going on with the similarities? Is it really true that Moon Knight is Marvel's version of Batman? I'm going to answer that question. There's actually a pretty interesting explanation, and the characters, they come about in very, very, very different ways with very different origins, but there are similarities, and they are worth discussing. I'll get into that in just a second here. My name is Ben. This is Action Industries. If you guys are here for the first time, you can check out a trailer reaction that I did last night for the aforementioned Moon Knight trailer. The series is dropping on the 30th of March on Disney Plus. We also do movie reviews here. We do trailer reactions in general, live streams, and we have a show called The Best and the Worst, in which we use a very scientific formula, and we talk about the best and the worst of a franchise, an actor, an actress, a director. We just did the best and the worst of Spider-Man. We've got the best and the worst of M. Night Shyamalan movies dropping next week, and we actually dropped the best and the worst of Scream, the whole franchise, this morning. You can find that in our description below. So, why do people compare these characters? What's the deal? Well, they are very similar. They're both, rich, trained dudes with gadgets who are fairly brutal and beat people up. Obviously, the biggest difference, and you can see this in the trailer for Moon Knight, is that Moon Knight has some powers. That is the biggest thing and the most notable thing to pay attention to, right? Batman, Bruce Wayne, people have said, is actually a little more akin to Iron Man. Now, funnily enough, growing up, Iron Man and Batman were my two favorite characters. I have about 6,000 comics in my mom's basement back in Seattle. I worked in comic book stores from the time I was like 11 for store credit all the way till the time I was 17, living here in LA the first time. So I've got a lot of Batman comics. I read a ton of Batman growing up. I actually have a decent number of Moon Knight comics. I didn't read as many of them as I probably should. My memory of Moon Knight actually comes in the late 90s Marvel imprint of the Marvel Knights series that was coming out at the time. Marvel Knights was a thing that Marvel came up with in the late 90s to represent some of its darker characters. You had Daredevil, Punisher, Moon Knight had a miniseries, the Inhumans, if I remember correctly. They were just supposed to be grittier, darker representations of Marvel characters. So there was a Moon Knight series that came out then. It was resurrected again about 5 or 6 years later in around 05 or 06. I actually have, I think Dave Finch was the artist. Maybe that was his name. I have some of those as well, and I read some of those when they were coming out in 05 or 06. But definitely Moon Knight's a character that I've read a lot less of than Batman. And I think that's the case with most people. I think most people are a lot less familiar. So that's why when you see the trailer, it stands out to you and me and anyone else. He's beating the crap out of someone with like some sort of mystical looking suit that moves like a symbiote or something. Batman doesn't have that. Batman is wearing a suit that is man-made, and that's what he does. There's also a major difference, right? So Moon Knight, Marc Spector, who again is, he's former Special Forces, CIA, boxer, left for dead by his employer. He fights crime in a very, very, very similar way to Batman, but he was actually endowed with superpowers in a second life. Because he was left for dead by his employer, the Egyptian god Khonshu is the person or being, I suppose, or god that gave him the second life. And the whole idea is that he's supposed to kind of seek justice and fight for those that can't fight for themselves. Batman does the same thing, but he does it because his parents died, right? His parents were murdered, so he beats people up. Batman, though, does not kill. Marc Spector does kill. There's a division in the way that the character is handled in the Marvel Universe and the way that a lot of the characters in Marvel historically will deal with Moon Knight, with Marc Spector, and it's that they don't like that he kills people. It's a very different take. We might actually see a Marvel show in which you have a character willing to murder people. That'd be kind of crazy, right? He definitely looks kind of insane in the trailer, beating the crap out of somebody. Now, it is funny to me, both of these properties, the Moon Knight show and the Batman movie, are dropping in March, right? This show hits March 30th, so it's very close to Batman. There is obviously a very similar scene of them both beating the crap out of people. It is a similar moment in both trailers that we have seen. And I do think it's funny that this will be the first thing that we get from both DC and Marvel in this year that is brand new. And, hopefully they're both really, really good. I know people will be looking for those comparisons. As I mentioned earlier, though, the biggest difference is really just there's a no-kill rule. One of them does have superpowers. However, in general, they're beating thugs up, they're beating people up, they're using special gadgets, they're flying around in special, cars and planes and things like that. What they do with Moon Knight in this series is a little up in the air. We don't know. Marc Spector was not the name that he was using necessarily in the trailer. He was using one of his aliases because he does go by aliases because he has dissociative personality disorder. So it does seem like this one's going to focus on Stephen Grant, which is like one of his alternative personalities. There's definitely a lot of literature out there explaining Moon Knight and all of the nuances of the character and the comic book history, which obviously, they will use some of that comic book history, but like we've seen with a lot of these shows, we don't actually know how much they're going to draw from. There tends to be some very page-for-page stuff represented. There also tends to be some stuff that they decide to take some liberties and make the show a little more cohesive and to fit into the grander scheme. This show is going to debut March 30th and end just before Multiverse of Madness hits theaters, like right before. It stands to reason that there will probably be some kind of continuation or lead-in. It doesn't really make sense that this show would be coming out and would be ending just before this movie that was delayed, that has all these reshoots going on right now. I feel like there probably will be some kind of connection. They also debuted a poster for Moon Knight last night. I'm going to put that on the screen for us right now. This is the poster that was debuted last night. It's super cool looking. Again, kind of dark, kind of wild. He's got that sort of mummy look to it. You know, I think this trailer is consistent, or this poster is consistent with that. So overall, I'm pretty excited for the show. I think it looks pretty great. I don't think that Batman and Moon Knight are actually that similar. I just think they have backgrounds that are, you know, kind of similar. And Moon Knight's a character I'm excited to get to know more about. So that's kind of the deal there, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave any thoughts, comments, questions below. Hope I was able to answer some of your questions. Be sure to follow along with this channel if you like what we do here. Hit that subscribe button. I mentioned leave a comment, hit the thumbs up, and if you hit that notification bell, you guys will get notified when we go live, when we post new videos, trailer reactions, movie reviews, all those things. And check out the best and the worst. We just dropped the best and the worst of Scream this morning. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good day.